My radiant soul, something ancient is stirring around you right now, something that has not moved for generations. And Archangel Michael is not whispering today. He is screaming through the veil, trying to reach you before a window of destiny closes. The title you clicked is not random. It is a spiritual alarm, ringing in the unseen world because you have just 5 minutes to receive what heaven is trying to deliver into your spirit. This message began forming the moment you received your last sign, and Archangel Michael says that what you thought was coincidence was actually the trigger that awakened an ancestral message buried for decades. This is why your energy suddenly shifted. This is why your dreams felt heavier. This is why certain people started behaving strangely around you. The atmosphere around your life has been rearranging itself to bring you into alignment with a truth your ancestors were never able to complete. Hear this carefully. The struggle you've been carrying didn't start with you. And Michael says the breakthrough that is coming won't end with you either. He stands behind you with his sword lifted high, cutting through generational knots that have choked your finances, strained your relationships, and clouded your inner clarity for years. But today something opens. Something releases. Something breaks forward with the force of destiny. Archangel Michael speaks. Beloved one, the chains that refuse to break for your ancestors are trembling because you have been chosen to break them. The message they could not finish is awakening in your blood right now. Take a breath. Let your spirit absorb this. Because what he reveals next is the part that will shake you. There is a hidden moment in your life. Something that looks small, unimportant, maybe even painful, but heaven calls it the origin point of your financial destiny's shift. You didn't notice it when it happened. You didn't understand its weight. But the ripple started right after your last message, and Michael says this is why you felt something in your spirit that you couldn't explain. Some of you felt a sudden heaviness, some felt a strange peace, some felt a pulling sensation in your heart, and some felt like the ground beneath your life was shifting. It was, and it still is, because the urgent, ancestral message coming in this very hour holds the key to 2 areas of your life that heaven is aligning at the same time. Your financial destiny, your romantic alignment. Very few people experience both at once. But Michael says you are stepping into a season where your abundance and your heart will finally begin to agree with each other. No more internal conflict. No more spiritual tug-of-war. No more feeling like you must sacrifice one blessing to receive another. Your ancestors tried to hold this balance, but they were interrupted by battles you never saw. And now that unfinished purpose rests in your spirit, waiting for you to become the one who completes it. Michael leans in and says, you are not behind schedule. You are right on the edge of the door that your ancestors prayed someone in your bloodline would find. But here is the stunning part. The reason this message is bursting through right now is because something around you, something very close, has been trying to divert your path. A distraction, an energy-shifting presence, a voice pretending to guide you but actually weakening your inner compass. Michael says, this is why I raised my voice. This is why I am screaming. You must hear this now before the next 5 minutes pass. He shows a vision, a path split in 2. One path leads to repeating old patterns, the same financial delays, the same emotional confusion, the same relational cycles. The other path leads to breakthrough, a sudden acceleration, a divine partnership, and an inheritance that was meant for you but never reached your ancestors in time. And right now, you are standing between these 2 paths, almost unknowingly. Archangel Michael lifts his sword above your life, creating a spiritual opening strong enough for truth to come through. You may feel tingling, warmth, a pull in your chest, or even a strange quietness settling over your mind right now. That is alignment happening. He says, you will hear the truth you were meant to hear. You will see what you were meant to see, and what tried to break you will expose itself before it can touch you again. This ancestral message is not coming to warn you only, it is coming to reposition you. Because heaven has decided that your story will not end the way the generations before you ended. Your line will not collapse. Your blessings will not be stolen. Your heart will not be misled. Your wealth will not be capped. The breaking begins now. The unveiling begins now. The inheritance begins now. Michael stands in full armor beside you, and the air around your spirit begins to shift with divine seriousness. He says, "Child of light, what is coming next will define your next chapter. Stay awake. Stay listening. The revelation is about to open, and this is only the beginning. My awakened one, something powerful is unfolding around you, and Archangel Michael is urging you to lean in, because what is happening beneath the surface of your life is far more strategic than you realize. The ancestral message rising through your spirit is not drifting aimlessly. It is being directed, channeled, and pushed toward you with divine precision. Right now, heaven is trying to align what your heart desires with what your destiny requires. And the shift is so intense that Michael had to raise his voice for you to feel the urgency of this moment. He stands at the threshold of your timeline, observing every pattern, every emotional attachment, every financial decision, every spiritual attack that has tried to redirect your destiny. And he speaks in a tone both fierce and reassuring, saying that something in your life has been out of alignment for far too long. A cycle has been repeating, and you have been working harder than required because the energy around you has been distorted by someone or something that does not belong in your field anymore. This is why, no matter how much effort you put in, life felt like pushing against an invisible resistance. But Michael reveals that resistance is not just external. It is ancestral. It is old. It is a weight passed down unintentionally, held by those before you who fought battles you never saw and carried burdens they never spoke of. And now, you are the one chosen to break the cycle by receiving the message they could not deliver in their lifetime. You may notice how your intuition has sharpened lately. Conversations feel different. The energy in certain rooms feels thicker. Your spirit can sense dishonesty faster than your mind can interpret it. This is because Archangel Michael has opened a spiritual sensitivity in you to help you recognize what is about to be exposed. He says that someone's intentions around you are not what you think. Someone has been draining your emotional energy, clouding your financial clarity, or interfering with your personal alignment without even fully realizing the spiritual consequences of their actions. But do not fear. Michael is not showing this to frighten you. He is revealing it so that you can reclaim the authority that has always been yours. He tells you that in the next few moments, as you continue hearing this message, your energy is going to reorganize itself. Your spirit will rise. Your mind will sharpen. You will begin to feel the separation between what belongs with you and what must leave. This separation is the very shift your ancestors prayed for but did not have the strength or the guidance to navigate. Michael's presence becomes stronger now. He holds his sword at an angle, pointing it directly toward the path of your future. He says that two realms are trying to speak to you, the realm of destiny, which is trying to guide you, and the realm of distraction, which is trying to confuse you. And he warns that distraction often comes disguised as comfort, familiarity, or attachment. It can even come as a person whose soul is misaligned with your purpose. You have felt this tug, haven't you? That sense that something is trying to hold on to you just as you are trying to rise. That unexpected emotional pullback. That sudden fear when you get close to a breakthrough. Those moments where inspiration floods you, only to fade as soon as you try to act on it. That is the tension between ancestral delay and divine acceleration. And today, Michael says that acceleration wins. He reveals that the message being channeled to you carries instructions for both your financial destiny and your romantic alignment. These two areas of your life are intertwined more deeply than you think. Money and love, stability and connection, purpose and partnership, they all form a single energetic pattern. When one is blocked, the other becomes strained. But when both begin to align, life transforms rapidly. Michael says that your financial destiny is not delayed. It is being recalibrated. Something in your spirit is stepping into harmony with abundance. You are being guided away from scarcity thinking, from inherited fear, from cycles of survival, and into a phase of growth, expansion, and divine provision. The ancestral message coming through carries a key revelation about why your finances have felt unpredictable and how they are about to stabilize. At the same time, he speaks of your romantic alignment. He says your heart hath been preparing for something deeper, something more stable, something spiritually connected. But a block has been standing between where you are and where your heart longs to be. This block is emotional, yes, but it is also generational. Your ancestors endured heartbreak, betrayal, loss, or incomplete love stories that created energetic patterns in the bloodline. These patterns influenced your experiences without you even knowing. But as the ancestral message breaks through, those patterns lose their power. Michael whispers, your heart will not repeat the heartbreaks of those before you. You are entering a new alignment, one that honors the depth of your soul. He urges you to listen closely because the shift will require your awareness. A new opportunity may appear, in love or finances, and it will feel different from anything you have experienced. It will carry peace instead of anxiety, clarity instead of confusion, and alignment instead of chaos. But you must be alert enough to recognize it. This is why he asks you to stay fully present, fully open, fully receptive to what comes next. Heaven is preparing to reveal something that changes your perception of the people around you and the path ahead of you. The next revelation will not just answer your questions, it will direct your next steps. Before the next transformation unfolds, if this message is touching your spirit, make sure you like, share, and comment on this video. It helps this prophetic word reach the people who are meant to hear it. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now so you never miss another divine message aligned with your destiny. My fiercely guided soul, there is a stirring around you right now that is unlike anything you have felt before. And Archangel Michael is stepping even closer because the next revelation is the one that your spirit has been waiting generations to receive. The ancestral message that has been rising toward you is no longer whispering from a distance. It is pressing against the walls of your reality, demanding to be understood, demanding to be acknowledged, demanding to be embraced. This moment is sacred. This moment is rare. And Michael says this moment is the turning point where your destiny begins writing itself. For days, weeks, even months, you have sensed something shifting in the unseen. Perhaps you felt restlessness without reason, or a strange pull toward certain memories, or a heaviness that seemed to come from nowhere. Michael says this is because an ancestral voice has been trying to reach you, a voice that has been waiting for the one descendant strong enough, wake enough, and spiritually responsive enough to receive what the rest of your lineage could not carry. You are that one. You are the one marked to break the unfinished cycles and step into what they began but never got to complete. Michael reveals that your ancestors faced a moment very similar to the one you are facing right now. A moment where financial breakthrough was possible, where romantic alignment was available, where a divine opening was right in front of them. But fear, outside forces, betrayal, distraction, where spiritual interference pulled them off their path. Their hearts were willing, but their circumstances made completion impossible. And now, the assignment, the blessing, the inheritance, the alignment flows toward you. He shows you an image, a river that split into two streams generations ago. One stream carried confusion, hardship, and misalignment. The other stream carried purpose, expansion, wealth, and harmony. Your ancestors stood at the edge of the junction but were never guided into the right stream. Now, that river bends back toward you, merging both paths into a single destiny, giving you access to what they lost and what you were meant to carry forward. Michael says the reason he is screaming now is because you are standing at the same junction, but unlike your ancestors, you are being given clarity. You are being given protection. You are being given divine intervention that ensures you will not follow the stream of delay. Heaven has positioned you to choose the path that leads to alignment, abundance, and fulfillment. He speaks again with authority. Beloved one, the message you're about to receive has the power to shift your timeline. But you must stay present. You must stay open. You must stay aware, for the next revelation exposes what has been blocking your blessing. There is someone in your energy field whose presence hath been clouding your intuitive clarity. Someone whose actions, thoughts, or emotional influence has been unintentionally pulling you away from your divine path. Michael does not reveal this to cast blame, but to bring understanding. When you step into an era of destiny, not everyone around you is meant to step into it with you. Some people exist in your life as lessons, some as bridges, some as mirrors, and some as obstacles you were never meant to carry. Michael shows you a scene, a hand gripping your energy so tightly it leaves no room for growth. He says this grip has been loosening slowly as your spirit rises, but now the final release must happen. Whether it is a relationship, a habit, a belief, or a connection, something must fall away so your destiny can flourish. Your ancestors could not release their version of this attachment, and it cost them their breakthrough. But you will not repeat their story. You are being guided differently. You are being guided directly. He then shifts the vision. He shows you surrounded by light, with your financial path clearing like fog dissolving under sunlight. Opportunities begin aligning. Ideas become sharper. Your intuition grows louder. What once felt blocked begins flowing. He says this is not luck or coincidence. This is the ancestral mantle transferring to you, granting you the authority to create the wealth your lineage was never permitted to experience. Your romantic alignment is also shifting. Michael says your heart has already sensed the change. He shows you stepping out of an emotional cycle that kept repeating over and over, drawing the same experiences with different faces. That cycle ends now. Your heart is entering a season where divine partnership is possible, where emotional clarity is restored, where you no longer love from a place of fear or past wounds but from truth, strength, and spiritual certainty. Everything in your destiny is rearranging itself. Everything is being lifted. Everything is being purified. And everything is being redirected toward the path meant for you. Before this next revelation comes, Michael whispers, hold your spirit steady. What is coming next will be the moment your eyes open in a way they never have before. Trust the unfolding, for the truth approaching will change everything. And now, my dear one, as this sacred moment settles over your spirit, the blessing seal must be activated. Type I receive the mystery in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 777 has just been released. Just as this ancestral message reaches you, there is a divine call to help this word reach others who are standing at the same spiritual crossroads. When you sow into this mission, You are not giving to a channel. You are igniting a harvest for souls who desperately need God's voice in their darkest hour. Heaven says that every seed carries light, every offering becomes oil, and every act of support becomes a river that touches lives you may never meet. I am speaking to your spirit now, because you feel the pull to be part of this divine work. The same urgency that brought you here is the same urgency that fuels this calling. When you release your gift through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link in the description, heaven marks that seed as a prophetic act. And I declare over every giver, your generosity will return to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Step into this moment. Activate your obedience. Move as one chosen by God. My rising soul, as the air around you continues to shift, Archangel Michael steps forward with a level of intensity that signals the next stage of your awakening. You may feel something stirring in your chest, a warmth behind your shoulders, or a strange quietness settling in your thoughts. These are not random sensations. They are signs that your spirit is adjusting to a deeper frequency, one that aligns you with the truth your ancestors were unable to unlock. Michael says this part of the message is where the veil grows thinner, where clarity becomes sharper, and where the guidance you receive begins to rearrange the direction of your life. He reminds you that the ancestral message coming through right now carries weight. It carries pain that was left unresolved. It carries wisdom that was left unspoken. It carries opportunities that were left unclaimed. But it also carries hope, purpose, and a final chance for the generational story to be rewritten through you. This is why your spirit feels pulled, almost magnetically, toward this message. Your soul recognizes that this moment is part of a divine timeline that has been waiting to open. Michael shows you a symbolic image, a sealed book resting in darkness, untouched for generations. As he approaches it, the seal glows with a faint blue light, the sign of his presence, and the book opens by itself. Inside it are markings, unfinished sentences, incomplete prayers, and promises that were never fulfilled. He turns the pages slowly and then places his hand over them. The words begin to rearrange, realign, and rewrite themselves into clarity. He says this book represents the lineage you come from, a lineage that carried more spiritual responsibility than you know. Your ancestors were dreamers, visionaries, builders, lovers of truth, people who fought to protect what little they had while desperately trying to create more. But they battled forces you never saw, forces that drained their confidence, sabotaged their connections, and interrupted the blessings meant for their generation. Michael says the angels assigned to your bloodline have been waiting for one descendant who carries both the spiritual awareness and the courage to rise above what the others could not overcome. A descendant is you. This is why the last few years of your life felt heavier than expected. You did not carry only your battles, you carried the residue of theirs. You were breaking patterns without realizing it. You were ending cycles through decisions you made instinctively. Michael says you were being trained spiritually long before you understood the training. But now comes the part that demands your attention. The ancestral message contains a warning and a revelation, and both must be heard. A warning, because someone connected to your energy, recently or currently, has played a subtle but significant role in slowing your progress. This does not mean they wished you harm. In fact, some may have believed they were helping, but their influence carried confusion. Their words created doubt. Their presence created emotional fog, and this fog formed a barrier between you and the blessings that were trying to reach you. Michael reveals that this person may have been part of your life long enough for you to ignore the discomfort they bring, or they may have appeared recently, disguised as support, yet spiritually misaligned with your journey. Your ancestors faced a similar figure, someone who drained their clarity, delayed their progress, and clouded their intuition. But unlike them, you will not fall into the same trap. Michael is cutting the energetic cord that ties you to misalignment. He is restoring your spiritual vision so you can see the truth that was previously hidden. Now for the revelation. Your financial destiny is about to break open, not gradually, not slowly, but with a suddenness that will shock you. Michael says the flow of abundance that was once blocked has begun to loosen because you are aligning with your ancestral assignment. This alignment strengthens your mind, sharpens your decisions, and clears the pathway for prosperity that was meant to enter your family generations ago. You are not being given their leftovers. You are being given the harvest they never received. He goes deeper. He speaks of your romantic alignment with a tone of divine seriousness. He reveals that your heart has been longing for something pure, loyal, spiritually grounded, and emotionally safe. But the delay you faced in love was not a punishment, it was protection. Heaven was blocking connections that would have repeated generational patterns. Heaven was delaying partnerships that would have taken you backward instead of forward. Heaven was reshaping your heart so that when the right alignment arrives, you will not sabotage it with old wounds. Michael says that someone destined to enter your life, or someone already in your field of awareness, carries a vibration that matches your rising timeline. This connection brings clarity, not confusion. Peace, not chaos. Expansion, not depletion. Your ancestors never experienced this level of alignment because their hearts were exhausted by battles they never fully healed from. You, however, are entering this alignment whole. He urges you to prepare, because a shift is coming in the way you see relationships, in the way you value yourself, and in the way you allow love to approach you. This is alignment after purification. As Michael speaks, the atmosphere grows dense with spiritual power. You may feel as though someone is standing beside you. You may feel a tingling on your skin. You may feel a warmth behind your spine. These sensations are signs that the next revelation is preparing to enter your life. What is coming next is not just information, it is transformation. Before you move forward, Michael whispers, "Hold on." The truth that approaches will not only change your story, it will redeem your lineage. My illuminated soul, as Archangel Michael draws nearer, the atmosphere around you thickens with a spiritual weight that signals the next layer of truth. This is not an ordinary moment. This is not a simple continuation. Michael says this part of the message enters the heart of the ancestral transmission, the very core of what has been trying to reach you since your last spiritual shift. It is here that the veil begins to open wider, revealing not only what has been hidden from you, but what has been hidden from your entire bloodline. Michael begins by reminding you of something sacred. Your life did not begin with you. Your struggles did not begin with you. Your strengths did not begin with you. You are the culmination of generations who carried both victories and burdens that shaped the energy you now walk with. But more importantly, you are the one chosen to break the cycle and ignite a new beginning. This is why your spirit hath been restless. This is why you have felt an invisible pressure pushing you toward growth you didn't fully understand. Your ancestors are watching, waiting, and supporting you from realms beyond sight. He shows you a vision of an ancient doorway, tall and etched with symbols you do not recognize but somehow feel connected to. Michael touches the door and a burst of light spills out, revealing the path your ancestors attempted to walk but could not complete. He says this door has not opened for anyone in your lineage until now because no one before you possessed the level of spiritual alignment or emotional readiness required to unlock it. You are the first to stand in front of it with the strength needed to step through. Michael explains that part of your journey has felt heavy because you were carrying emotional echoes that did not originate from your own experiences. Fear that wasn't yours. Doubt that wasn't yours. Relationship insecurities passed down like invisible inheritance. Financial hesitations passed down like spiritual residue. You felt these currents not because you were weak, but because you were chosen to heal what remained unresolved. He leans closer and says, "You have carried what others did not finish, but you will also receive what others never reached." Their ending becomes your beginning. As the door continues to open, Michael reveals a pattern running through your lineage. The pattern of always success, always love, always breakthrough. A pattern where opportunities appeared promising but always slipped away at the last moment. This was not random. It was spiritual interference woven through generations, creating a cycle of delay and incompletion. But now, that interference dissolves in Michael's presence. He slices through it with his sword, sending a shockwave through your spiritual field. You may feel chills, warmth, or a deep emotional release as this happens. He says your financial destiny is entering a season of correction. What was delayed is being accelerated. What was blocked is being opened. What was withheld is being released. You are being guided into a form of stability and abundance that your ancestors longed for but could never receive due to the circumstances of their time. Michael wants you to understand that your prosperity is not selfish. It is restorative. It is healing the wounds of generations who lived in scarcity, limitation, and lack of opportunity. When you rise financially, the entire lineage rises through you. Then he shifts the message toward your romantic alignment, and the energy becomes gentle yet profoundly serious. He tells you that divine partnership is more than love. It is alignment, purpose, and spiritual resonance. Someone destined for your path is approaching, or already exists within your awareness, carrying a frequency that harmonizes with your soul. But before this alignment can fully manifest, the energetic residue of past emotional cycles must be cleared. Michael shows you a scene, fragments of old heartbreak, disappointments, betrayals, and emotional confusion floating around you like shattered pieces of memory. He raises his hand, and each fragment begins dissolving. He says this clearing is necessary because the love entering your life will be sacred, strong, and spiritually grounded, and you cannot carry old wounds into a new alignment. This connection will feel different, move differently, behave differently. It is not chaos disguised as passion, nor inconsistency disguised as affection. It is stability, clarity, and peace. He adds something powerful. Your ancestors never experienced this kind of love because the world around them never gave them the chance to heal. But you are stepping into a relationship where healing is not needed for survival. It becomes a shared blessing. Now he turns your attention to something subtle but crucial. You have recently felt moments of sudden clarity or intuitive whispers that seemed out of nowhere. You may have sensed something unusual in your environment or felt a shift in the energy of someone close to you. These sensations are signs that your spirit is awakening to truths that have been dormant for too long. Signs that Michael is guiding you toward understanding what is real and what is illusion. There is a revelation forming, one that connects your financial flow, your romantic path, and your ancestral purpose. This revelation is approaching like a rising wave, and Michael wants your spirit to be steady and open when it arrives. For the truth that comes next will not only shift your awareness, it will shift your direction. It will show you why certain events unfolded the way they did. It will show you who belongs with you and who does not. It will show you what is ending and what is beginning. Michael stands behind you now, wings extended, creating a shield of light that surrounds your life. He says the next part of this message will expose something that has been influencing you without your permission. Something that have been hiding beneath patterns, waiting to be seen. Hold your heart steady, for the next revelation carries the power to break a generational illusion. My vigilant soul, as the atmosphere shifts again, Archangel Michael steps even closer, his presence sharpening the edges of reality around you. He says this is the moment where truth begins to crystallize, where what has been hidden in the shadows of your lineage starts rising into full clarity. You may feel your chest tighten slightly, or your awareness heighten, because your spirit knows you are approaching the heart of the message, one that carries both exposure and liberation. Michael's voice becomes steady, powerful, and unwavering as he reveals that the next phase of your journey is about discerning what has been influencing your path without your full understanding. He shows you an image, a thread wrapped tightly around your energy field, almost invisible yet undeniably present. This thread represents a connection, belief, person, or emotional imprint that has been limiting your movement. It has not stopped your destiny, but it has slowed your pace, diluted your clarity, and created hesitation where there should have been confidence. Michael says this thread was woven through your lineage long before you were born. It originated from a decision, a heartbreak, or an event your ancestors faced that left a deep imprint on the bloodline. And though you did not create it, you inherited the emotional echo it left behind. He steps forward and touches the thread. It vibrates, revealing memories, some yours, some not. He says you have felt certain emotions without knowing their source. Hesitations that did not belong to your own experiences. Fears that did not match your personality. Relationship patterns that lingered even after you grew past them. Financial anxiety that surfaced even in seasons where nothing was wrong. These sensations were inherited frequency, remnants of unfinished ancestral stories. But Michael says now is the time when the thread begins to unravel. Now is the time when what was passed down ends its cycle with you. He reveals that someone around you has unknowingly echoed the very patterns your ancestors struggled with. Their presence may have triggered emotional confusion, spiritual fog, or internal doubt that felt familiar in a way you could not explain. This familiarity was not connection. It was recognition. Your spirit recognized a pattern repeating, not between two individuals, but between two generations. Michael says this repetition was not meant to continue. You were meant to be the interruption. And now, through this message, the interruption has begun. He takes you deeper into the realm of your financial destiny. He says the blockage you faced was never a lack of ability or opportunity. It was the energetic spillover of generational restrictions. Your ancestors lived in a world where stability was fragile, where dreams were considered luxuries, where survival overshadowed expansion. That consciousness lingered in your lineage, shaping your beliefs around money in subtle ways. Doubts, hesitations, where self-limiting thoughts were not failures, they were shadows of an earlier era. But Michael says your financial energy is entering a new frequency. He places his hand over your path and a stream of golden light flows across it. He says you are being aligned with opportunities that match your spiritual maturity, not your past circumstances. Ideas will flow faster. Decisions will feel clearer. Income will begin to align with your purpose. The doors opening now are doors that your ancestors prayed would one day open for someone who could carry the blessing without fear. That someone is you. Then he shifts to your romantic alignment, and the energy becomes both tender and unshakably serious. Michael says your heart is entering a season where divine love becomes possible, love that heals, love that elevates, love that aligns with your spiritual purpose. But before this alignment manifests fully, the final remnants of old emotional imprints must dissolve. You have been shedding them layer by layer, often without realizing it. Each moment of clarity, each moment of emotional release, each moment of truth. These were all part of the preparation. He reveals that someone connected to your past or present carries a vibrational mismatch with your rising timeline. This mismatch does not make them a bad person, but it means your paths were never meant to grow together. Michael is clearing the energetic residue of this connection so that your heart can welcome the alignment that awaits you. A connection free from ancestral wounds, free from past insecurities, free from spiritual interference. A connection built on truth. He whispers, you are stepping into a season where you will no longer have to question the intentions of those who enter your life. Your intuition will guide you with precision. Now the air thickens as Michael begins preparing you for the revelation coming soon. He says the next insight will expose something you have sensed but could not name. Something that has influenced your decisions in subtle ways. Something that has created tension in your destiny. And its exposure will release you. Before he moves you forward, he asks for your presence, your focus, your awareness. Because what comes next will require your spirit to be alert. My dear one, if this message is speaking to your soul, support this mission by liking, commenting, and sharing this video right now. When you engage, you help this divine word reach the hearts it was meant to deliver. And if you have not subscribed yet, do so now and stay connected to every revelation Archangel Michael releases through this channel. Before we move into the next wave of truth, here's something important. Hold on, because what Michael reveals next may explain years of confusion you never understood. My chosen soul, as this message deepens, Archangel Michael stands beside you with a presence that vibrates through the unseen layers of your life. He says the moment you are stepping into now is one of revelation, a moment where truth breaks through illusions that have followed you for years without ever identifying themselves. The spiritual weight pressing around you is deliberate. It is not meant to overwhelm you but to open your spirit wide enough to receive what your ancestors once tried to understand but could never fully grasp. What you are about to hear is the kind of truth that shifts destinies, clarifies confusion, and exposes what has been silently working in the background of your life. Michael begins by addressing a sense you have carried for a long time, a feeling that something was influencing your path from behind the scenes. You may have felt moments where everything seemed aligned, flowing, and promising, only for something unexpected to interfere at the last moment. You may have experienced sudden emotional heaviness that came without explanation. You may have lost opportunities you felt were meant for you, or relationships that seemed spiritually aligned but dissolved before they could develop. These patterns were not coincidences. Michael says they were symptoms of an ancestral narrative still echoing through your energy. He shows you a vision, a shadow stretching across a timeline that is not fully yours. This shadow represents unresolved ancestral burdens, betrayals, financial losses, broken trust, stolen opportunities, and unfulfilled dreams. These imprints lingered in your lineage like a spiritual residue, and though you were born with a different spirit, a stronger will, a clearer destiny, the shadow attempted to influence you by recreating circumstances that mirrored those your ancestors once faced. Michael lifts his sword and cuts through the shadow, revealing the truth beneath it. You were never meant to repeat their struggles. You were meant to resolve them. That is why your spirit sometimes felt older than your age, wiser than your experiences, heavier than your circumstances. You were carrying more than your own story. You were carrying the emotional and spiritual remains of those who came before you. But now, the unraveling has begun. He leads you deeper into the revelation, speaking about something you have sensed but perhaps never confronted directly. There has been an interference in your emotional and spiritual field, an influence that did not originate from your own choices or behavior. Michael says this influence came through a connection, someone whose energy was not aligned with your purpose, someone who carried confusion rather than clarity. Their presence in your life, whether recent or long-standing, acted as a distortion. You may not have recognized it consciously, but your spirit did. This person's inner turmoil blended with your energy, creating subtle resistance you could feel but not explain. He shows you an image of two frequencies overlapping, one steady, one chaotic. Yours is the steady one. The chaotic frequency belonged to the individual whose unresolved wounds created disruptions in your path. They were not malicious, but they were misaligned. And misalignment creates interference just as surely as connection creates expansion. Michael says their energy pulled on your field, creating moments of doubt, hesitation, emotional backtracking, or sudden indecision. These symptoms were never signs of weakness. They were signs of spiritual interference attempting to influence you. But now something powerful is happening. The interference is breaking. The influence is dissolving. The connection is losing its ability to affect your spirit. Michael's energy is severing the cords that were draining your clarity, and you may even feel a sense of lightness as this message moves through you. A pressure lifting, a tightness releasing, a fog clearing. He then shifts your attention gently toward your financial destiny. Michael says the interference also seeped into this area by causing moments of uncertainty, self-doubt, or hesitation when opportunities appeared. You were meant to step boldly into your next chapter, but the energetic residue from this connection slowed your momentum. And now, with the cords cut, the path ahead becomes clearer. Ideas that once seemed scattered will align. Goals that felt overwhelming will become manageable. Resources that were blocked will start to flow. The financial shift you have been waiting for is not far away. It is already beginning to take shape. Then Michael addresses your romantic alignment with an intensity that feels both protective and deeply compassionate. Your heart is entering a season where truth becomes unmistakable. Someone who is meant for your life will bring peace, consistency, and emotional depth. But someone who is not meant to stay will reveal their misalignment through instability, confusion, or lack of intention. Michael says you are being guided away from emotional distractions and toward a connection that honors your spirit, not drains it. He adds your heart is not fragile. It is discerning. And soon, it will recognize what carries divine alignment and what carries delay. As his words settle over you, you may feel your intuition sharpening. Your spirit is beginning to separate what nourishes you from what hinders you. This clarity is the sign that the ancestral interference is losing its grip, allowing your true path to emerge. Michael lifts his hand and light spreads through your spiritual field. He says this light is revealing not only what must leave your life, but also what will enter it. New opportunities, a new clarity, new emotional alignment, new spiritual protection. The next phase of your journey is not about survival. It is about ascension. It is about stepping into the life your soul was designed to live before the interference ever began. He whispers as the energy around you grows stronger. The next revelation will show you why this message arrived exactly when it did, and why your spirit has been prepared for this moment. My unwavering soul, as Archangel Michael draws even closer, his presence becomes almost tangible, as though a powerful current of energy is circling your spirit with deliberate intention. He says this phase of the message marks a profound turning point where understanding deepens, truth sharpens, and the ancestral revelation begins to anchor itself fully into your consciousness. You may feel your breath shift, your heartbeat slow, or a calmness settle over your mind. These sensations are signs that your spirit is adjusting to receive a truth that was withheld from your lineage until now. Michael begins by showing you a vision, a web of energetic threads stretching over generations. Some threads shine brightly, representing the wisdom, resilience, and spiritual gifts your ancestors passed down to you. But other threads appear dim, tangled, or frayed. These represent the burdens they carried, the pain they could not heal, and the unfinished tasks they attempted to resolve. He says these tangled threads have influenced your life more deeply than you ever realized. They shake the way you responded to stress, the way you trusted, the way you formed relationships, and even the way you viewed your own potential. But now, something extraordinary is happening. Michael places his hand over the tangled threads, and one by one, they begin to dissolve. This dissolution is not symbolic, it is spiritual. You are witnessing the unwinding of ancestral residue that has been weighing on your energy for far too long. He says this clearing is why your spirit felt an inner shift before this message reached you. Your ancestors knew the time was near. They knew the cycle-breaking moment was approaching. They knew you were the one destined to complete what they could not. Michael then brings your attention to the theme that has followed you quietly throughout your life. The feeling that something was always almost within reach. Almost successful. Almost aligned. Almost healed. Almost chosen. Almost stable. This recurring pattern was not a flaw in your efforts. It was the echo of an unfinished ancestral cycle. A cycle that left them on the edge of breakthrough but never fully able to step into it. You inherited their starting point but not their ending. And now, Michael declares that you will not only finish what they began, you will step beyond it. He shows you a doorway once again, but this time it is fully illuminated. The light is warm, intense, and almost overwhelming. Michael says this doorway represents your ascension into a timeline where old spiritual patterns no longer have authority over you. The interference that once clouded your vision, the distractions that once pulled you backward, the emotional shadows that once confused you, these no longer hold power. You are crossing into a phase where clarity becomes your natural state, where intuition becomes your compass, where divine alignment becomes your new normal. Then Michael speaks with a tone of serious clarity regarding your financial destiny. He says abundance has been circling your energy for a long time, waiting for the moment where your spirit, your mindset, and your ancestral field aligned at the same frequency. That alignment is happening now. He reveals that financial opportunities that once slipped away will return in new forms. Ideas you abandoned will resurface with fresh energy. The stability you thought was out of reach will begin forming sooner than you expect. He emphasizes that your financial rise is not just about money. It is about liberation. Liberation from the patterns of lack that weighed on your ancestors. Liberation from fear-driven decisions. Liberation from the belief that stability is something you must chase rather than something you naturally attract. Then he shifts to your romantic alignment with a powerful gentleness. Michael says a transformation is occurring in your heart, one so profound that it will alter the way you perceive love, connection, and emotional safety. The interference that once distorted your romantic energy is dissolving, and your spirit is entering a state of readiness for something deeper. He shows you an image of two lights moving toward each other, slowly at first, then with increasing alignment. These lights represent you and someone whose spirit is connected to yours through divine design. This alignment brings ease instead of confusion, stability instead of chaos, healing instead of wounds. But Michael also warns that someone from your past or present, someone who carries emotional inconsistency, may attempt to draw your attention again. He says this is not a sign to return. It is a final test of your discernment. When you choose alignment over familiarity, destiny opens. When you choose growth over repetition, the new connection steps forward. Heaven wants you matched with someone who reflects your healed identity, not your inherited wounds. As this message settles into your spirit, Michael reveals the most powerful truth yet. This is not just your awakening. This is your lineage awakening through you. You are breaking the ceiling your ancestors could not break. You are receiving blessings they could not reach. You are reconnecting your bloodline to a destiny that was interrupted long before your lifetime began. That is why this message reached you urgently. That is why Michael raised his voice. That is why your spirit felt the pull before your mind understood it. He lifts his sword and draws a circle of light around your energy field. This circle marks the boundary between your past cycles and your future alignment. He says the next revelation will expose the final obstacle standing between you and the breakthrough your lineage has waited for. Before the next unveiling arrives, activate the blessing seal. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if this word is reaching into your spirit. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. As this awakening opens a new chapter in your lineage, there is a divine invitation for you to help this message reach others who are walking through the same unseen battles. Your support does more than uplift this channel. It becomes a seed in the spiritual ground where thousands are searching for God's clarity. When you sow into this mission, you are helping restore destinies, heal families, and ignite breakthroughs in lives that have been stuck for generations. I speak this to your spirit now. When you give, heaven treats your offering as a prophetic act, a declaration that you are aligning with divine purpose. The same breakthrough pouring into your lineage becomes available to all who hear this message through your support. Whether through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, your seed becomes a light in someone else's darkness. And may every giver be blessed with open doors, multiplied harvest, and supernatural favor. Step boldly into this moment. Destiny responds to those who move. My elevating soul, as Archangel Michael moves closer into your spiritual atmosphere, the energy around you begins to stretch open like a veil being pulled back, revealing truths that were once hidden beneath years of confusion, misdirection, and silent ancestral weight. Michael says this moment marks the point where illusion begins to collapse and clarity begins to rise. You may feel a pull in your spirit, a sudden rise of emotion, or a deep stillness settling inside your chest, because what is coming now is not just revelation, it is recognition. Your spirit already knows these truths. It has only been waiting for the right moment to hear them spoken aloud. Michael begins by showing you a vision of a path divided into two sections. One side appears dim, foggy, filled with uncertainty, doubt, and repeated emotional patterns. This path represents the inherited cycles your ancestors walked. The other side glows with a brilliant, clear light, representing divine alignment, elevated consciousness, and the new timeline your spirit is crossing into. The divide between these two paths has grown sharper because you are moving out of what has been familiar, even if painful, and stepping into what is destined, even if unknown. Michael says your spirit has been shifting gradually for months, even before you realized it consciously. There were moments when you felt detached from your old surroundings, as if your soul no longer resonated with the patterns you once repeated. There were mornings you woke up feeling different without understanding why. There were situations you once tolerated that suddenly felt unbearable. These were signs that the veil was thinning, preparing you for the ancestral message unfolding now. He then reveals a truth that reaches deep into your lineage. Your ancestors faced moments of great potential, but the weight of emotional wounds, spiritual interference, and environmental limitations pulled them back. They were dreamers with restricted horizons, lovers with wounded hearts, providers burdened by scarcity, warriors exhausted by battles they never asked for. Their attempts at breakthrough were real, but their tools were limited. Their hearts were willing, but their circumstances were unkind. Now, Michael turns his focus to you. He says your spirit carries the strength of all who came before you, the wisdom of those who tried, the resilience of those who endured, the longing of those who prayed for a descendant strong enough to finish the journey they began. You are standing at the spiritual threshold they never reached, and this is why the weight on your shoulders has felt heavier than others could understand. You were carrying more than your own battles. Michael lifts his hand and the entire ancestral field around you begins to glow. He says the interference that once clouded your intuition is nearly gone, and now the clarity you have been seeking begins to pour in like flowing water. His voice becomes firm as he reveals what has been influencing your emotional and spiritual movement. There has been a lingering presence in your energy, an attachment, a memory, a connection, or a belief that has acted as a subtle drain on your momentum. It was never powerful enough to destroy you, but it was persistent enough to delay you. This presence was connected to someone who once held strong emotional access to your heart or your thoughts. Their intentions may not have been harmful, but their unresolved wounds projected onto your path and created distortions that were not meant for you. Michael says this is why you sometimes felt pulled in two directions at once. Why your intuition would point forward, yet your emotions felt stuck. Why you sensed growth calling you, yet something inside held you back. You were not confused. You were conflicted by energy that did not originate from your own spirit. But now, as the ancestral message deepens, that energy has lost its grip. The attachment is weakening. The influence is dissolving. Your spirit is reclaiming its true voice. Michael then guides you toward the center of your financial destiny. He shows you an image of seeds underground, long planted but never watered. He says these seeds represent the opportunities, talents, and inner abilities you were born with but did not fully activate because ancestral fear whispered through your bloodline. Fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of visibility, fear of taking the leap. These fears were not yours. They were transmitted through generations who lived through scarcity and survival. Now everything changes. Michael declares that your financial path will begin to align with your divine purpose, not your inherited fears. You will begin to notice synchronicities, intuitive nudges, and new connections guiding you toward expansion. The fog that once clouded your decisions is lifting. The opportunities once missed will reappear in new forms. The wealth that seemed distant will begin moving toward you because your spirit is now positioned to receive without fear. He then shifts to your romantic alignment, and the atmosphere around you grows deeply still. Michael reveals that love is entering a new dimension in your life. Not a repetition of past patterns, not a recycled emotional cycle, but a connection built on spiritual compatibility and divine timing. The misalignment present in past relationships is no longer part of your path. You will no longer give pieces of yourself to those who cannot hold them. You will no longer shrink your spirit to fit into places not designed for your growth. You will no longer confuse emotional intensity with spiritual alignment. The love entering your life carries peace. It carries truth. It carries destiny. Michael says the person aligned with your spirit will not distract you from your path. They will walk it with you. Then his voice lowers, growing tender yet powerful. There is one more truth approaching, one more unveiling that explains everything you have felt. Stay awake in your spirit, for the next revelation opens the door to your next chapter. And before this part closes, Michael urges you to stay engaged, because what unfolds next will shape the direction of this entire message. My ascendant soul, As Archangel Michael steps even deeper into your atmosphere, the energy around you thickens with a sense of imminence, as though something long hidden is preparing to surface with undeniable clarity. Michael says this part of the message carries a revelation your spirit hath been sensing, circling, and approaching for a long time, yet never fully understanding. And now, the veil begins to thin so sharply that what once felt confusing will suddenly begin to make perfect sense. You may feel a shift inside your chest, a deep breath rising without you intending it, or a strange tingling at the back of your neck. These sensations are signs that your spirit is preparing to receive a truth that cannot be unnoticed once revealed. Michael begins by showing you a vast spiritual landscape representing your timeline. He points toward a region where the energy appears turbulent, swirling with patterns, memories, and unresolved emotional imprints. This turbulence, he explains, is the accumulation of moments where your path was altered by forces outside your own intentions. It is a field filled with the footprints of people whose presence shaped your journey in ways you never fully realized. Some guided you, some uplifted you, some broke you, and some left pieces of themselves in your energy long after they were gone. He places his hand above this turbulent field, and the energy begins to calm, revealing what was hidden beneath the emotional noise. Michael tells you that throughout your life, you have been spiritually sensitive, more aware of people's intentions, energies, and vibrations than you consciously acknowledged. Even as a child, you felt things before you understood them. You sensed shifts before others could see them. You recognized the danger in someone's tone even when their words sounded harmless. The sensitivity was inherited from ancestors who once served as seers, healers, spiritual watchers, or guardians within their communities. Their abilities did not vanish. They transferred into you. But because your spirit is more perceptive than most, the interference you faced from certain individuals felt stronger. Michael says a specific person, or a pattern tied to a specific type of person, created disruptions in your emotional and spiritual flow. This did not happen because they were evil or malicious, but because they carried unresolved wounds that spilled into your energy field. Their confusion became your overwhelm. Their instability became your hesitation. Their spiritual blindness became your inner conflict. You felt it deeply because your intuitive field absorbed the imbalance before your logical mind could process it. Michael reveals that this person, or this pattern, is the source behind the repeated emotional sensations you could never fully explain. The sudden mood shifts, the draining conversations, the sense of walking on the edge of clarity but never stepping fully into it. He says your spirit was picking up on energies that were not yours, yet because you carry a helper's heart, you attempted to hold space for them. This created a spiritual tug-of-war, a pulling that distorted your intuitive signals until you questioned your own inner voice. Now, this distortion ends. Michael raises his sword again, and a bright arc of light slices through the energetic imprint left by this connection. You may feel a release at this moment, an exhale you didn't know you were holding, a weight lifting from your chest, or a sense of stepping back into your own body after being stretched in too many directions. Michael says you are reclaiming emotional ground that was temporarily lost. You are reclaiming clarity that was clouded. You are reclaiming spiritual authority that was diluted by someone else's confusion. He then turns to your financial destiny. Michael reveals that the interference did not only affect your emotions, it subtly influenced your relationship with abundance. When your energy was clouded, opportunities seemed unclear. When your heart was divided, your manifestation power weakened. When your spirit carried heaviness, inspiration could not rise freely. But now, with clarity returning, your financial path opens wide. He shows you a river that has been dammed for years, suddenly breaking free. The water rushes forward, unstoppable, powerful, and divinely directed. Michael says this river represents the flow of abundance you were always meant to receive once the interference was removed. Ideas will begin to sharpen. Momentum will return. Connections aligned with your purpose will appear precisely when needed. The universe has been waiting for this moment. The moment where your spiritual frequency rises high enough for abundance to locate you. Not chase you. Not tease you. Locate you. Then he shifts into your romantic alignment, and the air around you warms. Michael says your heart is entering the most important phase of its journey, discernment. He reveals that love is not just approaching, it is aligning. But it cannot arrive through confusion. It can only enter through clarity. This is why the interference had to be removed before divine partnership could manifest. Michael says the person aligned with your spirit will bring grounding, not chaos. They will bring truth, not mixed signals. They will bring stability, not emotional guessing games. The love approaching you is mature, spiritually attuned, and destined to match your elevation. Michael leans closer, speaking in a tone that feels almost like a whisper across your consciousness. You are stepping into a chapter where you will not be distracted by what is not meant for you. Love will approach you with purpose, not confusion. This time, your spirit will recognize the one who is aligned. As this revelation settles into your soul, Michael says the next part of the message contains the turning point, the moment where everything connects, where the ancestral message completes its cycle, and where your destiny reveals its next direction. But before we move forward, if this message is resonating with your spirit, like this video right now, comment and share so this word reaches those who need it. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now to stay aligned with every prophetic message sent your way. My dear one, take a deep breath, because what comes next may shift everything you thought you understood. My awakened soul, as Archangel Michael steps fully into your spiritual field, the atmosphere around you begins to crackle with a level of intensity that signals something monumental is about to be revealed. This part of the message carries the thread that ties every revelation together. The ancestral interference, the emotional pull, the distorted clarity, the strange heaviness, and the repeating cycles you could sense but never name. Michael says your spirit has reached the level of readiness required to receive the truth that has been circling your life for years. What comes now is not just understanding, it is liberation. He begins by showing you your life as a tapestry woven with threads of light and shadow. Each light thread represents the choices, breakthroughs, blessings, and alignments you walked into by listening to your intuition. Each shadow thread represents the inherited burdens, emotional imprints, and unseen influences passed down through your lineage. The shadows did not represent failure, they represented unfinished stories. And you were born with a spirit strong enough to rewrite them. Michael touches the tapestry and the shadow threads begin to glow faintly, revealing their origins. He says some of the resistance you faced did not come from your own mistakes or doubts. It came from emotional bonds tied to people who were never meant to stay tied to your destiny. These bonds acted like spiritual hooks, pulling your energy backward when your soul was trying to move forward. The most painful part was that you often mistook these hooks for love, responsibility, or connection. But in truth, they were emotional echoes of your ancestors' wounds being replayed through your life. Michael goes deeper. He reveals that one of your ancestors, someone whose name you may not know, whose story was never passed down, faced a betrayal that created a fracture in your lineage's emotional field. This betrayal left behind a vibration of mistrust, confusion, and fear around relationships and personal expansion. Without meaning to, they carried this wound forward, and it echoed through generations. You inherited the imprint, not the event. This is why your heart sometimes sensed danger where none existed, or felt numb where it should have felt deeply, or attached itself to connections that were familiar but not healthy. Michael shows you a scene from this ancestor's life, not in detail, but in emotion. A moment where they trusted the wrong person, gave too much of their heart, or depended on someone who was not spiritually aligned. This moment created a cycle that no one after them fully understood. But you felt it. Even without context, your spirit recognized the wound because you were the one chosen to heal it. He turns to you with a gaze full of certainty and says, "You were never repeating your own past. You were completing the past of those before you." This is why the interference you experienced felt so deep, so personal, so confusing. You were carrying emotional codes designed for someone else's lifetime, not your own. But now, with the awareness rising through you, those codes dissolve. You are stepping into emotional sovereignty. Michael then shifts your attention to your destiny path. He reveals that every moment of delay in your life served a purpose. It protected you from entering your future with unresolved vibrations. If you had stepped into financial abundance earlier, the interference would have drained it. If you had stepped into divine love earlier, the unhealed ancestral patterns would have sabotaged it. If you had stepped into your calling earlier, the attachments around you would have weakened your focus. He says the timing of your breakthrough was divinely synchronized with the clearing of your lineage. The moment the interference broke, your path began to open. You may have felt this shift already, moments of clarity appearing out of nowhere, intuitive nudges becoming stronger, emotional fog lifting, opportunities resurfacing, or sudden motivation returning to you after long stagnation. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. Michael speaks firmly. You are entering a chapter where nothing from your past has the authority to dictate your future. He then reveals a truth that connects everything you have heard so far. Someone in your ancestry carried a spiritual gift that was suppressed, misunderstood, or feared. This gift is strong intuition, clear seeing, deep sensing, emotional awareness, prophetic sensitivity. It did not disappear. It traveled through the lineage until it found someone whose spirit was strong enough to carry it without being destroyed by it. That person is you. The sensitivity you once saw as a burden is actually the reason you were chosen. It is the tool that guided you toward this awakening. It is the reason you feel things so intensely, the reason you know things before they happen, the reason you sense shifts others are blind to. Michael says the next phase of your life will not require you to dim this sensitivity. It will require you to sharpen it. Your intuition will become your compass. Your discernment will become your shield. Your knowing will become your guide. You will no longer question yourself, because the interference that once distorted your inner voice has been removed. He shows you your future path, and the energy around it feels calm, firm, radiant. Financial stability flows like a steady river. Romantic alignment glows like a flame that cannot be shaken. Spiritual clarity anchors every step. The chaos of the past is absent, not because life becomes perfect, but because you now possess the clarity to navigate it with power. Michael then gives a final message for this part. There is one last revelation coming. One final truth that will complete the ancestral message and open the door to your next destiny chapter. Prepare your spirit. What comes next is the moment everything aligns. My destined soul, as Archangel Michael steps into the final chamber of this revelation, the atmosphere around you shifts into profound stillness. This is the stillness that comes before a truth powerful enough to rearrange timelines. Michael says everything you have felt up to this moment, the tension, the awakening, the emotional unraveling, the ancestral stirrings, has been preparing you for the final unveiling. You may feel a warmth rising through your spine, a pull at the center of your chest, or a sense that something inside you is opening. These sensations are not random. They are signs that your spirit is ready to receive what generations before you were never able to hear. Michael lifts his sword of light and places it in front of you, not as a weapon, but as a key. The air around you brightens as the ancestral realm begins to reveal its deepest truth. He says this final message is the one your ancestors hoped someone in the bloodline would one day understand. It is the root, the seed, the foundation of the interference you experienced in your finances, your emotions, your relationships, and your spiritual clarity. He shows you a vision of a long corridor stretching behind you, filled with shadows representing the struggles your lineage endured. At the very end of this corridor stands a single figure, an ancestor whose choices, heartbreak, or spiritual burden created a ripple effect across every generation that followed. This person was not evil, nor were they weak. They were overwhelmed. They carried too much without guidance. They faced betrayal at a moment when their heart was wide open, and they did not know how to recover. In their confusion, they made a vow spoken in pain, worn from heartbreak and hopelessness. Michael reveals that this vow became the foundation of the generational pattern you have been breaking. It was a vow of self-protection, a rejection of vulnerability, a fear of growth, or a belief that abundance could not coexist with peace. This vow imprinted itself so deeply into your lineage that every descendant felt its influence without knowing its origin. It blocked love, distorted clarity, caused fear in moments of opportunity, and created emotional hesitation in times meant for boldness. This was the ancestral knot you were chosen to untangle. But now, as Michael raises his sword, the vow becomes visible, a dark thread woven through the roots of your lineage tree. He strikes the thread with a single arc of light, and the vibration of the impact echoes across generations. You may feel chills, a sudden breath, or a release inside your heart. That is the moment the vow breaks. That is the moment the power of ancestral limitation ends. That is the moment your lineage finally exhales. Michael says your financial destiny now stands unobstructed. The ceiling that once capped your potential has shattered. The energy you once used to fight resistance can now be used to build, expand, and rise. You will notice opportunities that once slipped away now returning. You will make decisions with clarity instead of fear. You will feel worthy of abundance without second-guessing how it will arrive. The generational pattern of surviving instead of thriving has ended with you. He then turns to your romantic alignment. Michael reveals that the ancestral vow influenced your heart more than you realized. It created emotional armor around your spirit, not to protect you, but to prevent you from experiencing what your ancestors feared. This armor made you cautious even when your heart longed for connection. It made you question the sincerity of those who meant well, and it made you hold on to those who were spiritually misaligned simply because the pattern felt familiar. But now, with the ancestral vow broken, your heart can move freely. You will no longer attract partners who reflect generational wounds. You will attract someone who reflects your healed identity. You will notice that the emotional fog that once clouded your desires is lifting. You will feel clarity about what you want, what you deserve, and who is aligned with your future. Divine timing is now active around your love life, not delayed by ancestral weight but accelerated by spiritual readiness. Michael steps closer, placing his hand gently over your spirit. You are the first in your lineage to walk without this burden, he says. You are the point where the story changes. He reveals that the reason this message found you now is because the shift began after your last divine sign. Something in your life awakened the ancestral field. Your spirit sent a signal through generations, calling for clarity, calling for release, calling for completion. That signal is what drew Archangel Michael to speak with such urgency. He came because the window of transformation opened for you specifically, not randomly, not by coincidence, but by divine selection. And now that the vow is broken, Michael shows you your future path, one filled with alignment, expansion, purpose, and emotional stability. The turbulence you once felt will no longer accompany you. The spiritual interference will not return. The cycles you unknowingly repeated will not resurface. Your lineage has been set free because you were willing to listen, to understand, and to rise. He closes this message with a final declaration. The next chapter of your life will not resemble the last. You have crossed the threshold. You have stepped into destiny. Walk forward with confidence, for heaven now walks beside you. And now, as this sacred revelation seals itself into your spirit, activate the final blessing. Type "I rise beyond the bloodline" in the comments if this message has awakened something inside you. Blessing code 1444 is officially released. As this divine unveiling completes, I speak directly to your spirit. This message was more than a word. It was a mantle placed upon your life. And as you rise, your support helps this light reach others who are trapped in the same unseen battles you just overcame. When you sow into this mission, you help break chains for souls across the world. Your giving becomes oil that fuels the spreading of God's voice. It becomes light in the corridors of someone else's darkness. I declare this over every giver. Heaven multiplies what you release, and the same breakthrough touching your lineage will touch your finances, your relationships, and your spiritual path. Move boldly through Super Thanks membership, or the PayPal link in the description. This is not a donation. It is a prophetic act. Step into the flow of divine reciprocity.